Hi, chat. How's it going? Welcome. I am pleased to report the moth is dead. I just killed it. I was trying to set up while the moth kept surprising me every now and again, chat. It was kind of spooky. But yeah, hi, chat. How's it going? Let me say hi to everybody. I cry out before this all ruse from about to get Moth Woman Ginny. No. Hi, Mr. J. Hi, Kenji. TV? Yes, TV. I'm on the TV, guys, look. Hi, Frostart. Hi, Backup Hamster. Hi, Taro. Hi, Grapist. Hi, Mystic. Hi, Bear. No matter what, the scariest thing tonight would be Ginny. Oh, having to deal with the moth? Yeah, that was fucking scary. If there's an appearance of the Japanese foot demon this stream, it'll be a huge missed opportunity. I'm sorry. Hi, Reaver. Hi, Lux. Hi, Tara. Hi, Frostart. Love it, said I already. Hi, John. For now, oh no. The streamer's now a murderer. I'm not a murderer. Just welcome to my crib. Welcome. How's it going, chat? Feet? No, no feet. Feet? No feet. Feet? No feet. I up the vortex. Who puts neck in a TV? She's normally in a computer. Yeah, I'm in a TV now. I'm in the ookie spooky TV. Hi. Wait, hold on. Let me come a little closer to you, chat. Actually, does this work? I might do something stupid, chat. Chat, this might not work at all, as intended. That worked exactly how I wanted it to work. Hi, chat. That works fucking great. So, chat. Today we're gonna read stories. We're gonna read scary stories, chat. I hope you guys are ready. In case you've never heard of these lovely stories. They were collected by Alvin Schwartz, and they were put into these little books known as the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series, and they're pretty fun. I got into reading these when I was in like middle school. These books have been around for like forever, and it's basically just a collection of like little stories. Throughout our time tonight, chat, I will also tell stories of my own. Ooh, of ookie spooky experiences that I've had throughout the years. Turn the TV off! No! Don't turn it off! No! We're good. Yeah. The Spanish ones translate into English through Snack. No, they're in English. Chad, do you prefer silence or do you prefer having the music on? Just a little quiet in the background, you know? Low ambience would be nice. Is there good? Is that good enough for you, chat? Is this good? For a snack voice? This is fine? Okay. So, it's been a while since I've looked through these little books. There's 3 of them, chat. There's 1, 2, and there's 3. My question to you is, chat, where shall our journey begin? Do you want a story from book 1? Or perhaps a story from book 2? Or maybe book 3? I'm old and even I don't watch TV anymore? Lamau. Imagine not watching TV. By the way, this fucking, like, TV asset with, like, the little fucking lights in the background was fucking expensive. I couldn't find a decent free one. Toss a coin to your snack, Blizz. Hi, Elsking. But yeah, chat. Where do we begin? We begin with book 1, book 2, or book 3? Wanna start from the beginning? Well, these stories aren't in order. They're just... It's a collection of stories. They're all different. Book 2? Book 2 it is. The wheel funded this? Kinda, yeah. I guess. Everyone says 2. And what's gonna happen, chat, is I'm gonna kind of, like, skip through a random page until I find the start of a story. And then I can tell you guys the names of the stories. Let's see. Let me know which of these, sounds fun to you, chat. That's something that we can read. These are the names of the stories. When she saw him, she screamed and ran. Something was wrong. The wreck. One Sunday morning. Sounds. A weird blue light. Somebody fell from aloft. The little black dog. Clinkety clink. Actually, hold on. Are these the... Oh, these are by name. Or not. It might be by chapter. Actually, this might be by chapter, chat. No, yeah, these are all independent little stories. Yep, scary stories to tell in the dark. Weird blue light, wasn't that a quote from Sylvester Stallone? I mean, we can start there if you'd like. Or I could just... alternatively, chat, I can just skip to a random page to see what story we get. That could be fun, too. The Man in the Middle. We can read that one. That's why I just randomly skipped to, chat. I'll begin. Let me turn the light to actually fucking see. Blinding. It was almost midnight. Sally Truitt had just got on the subway train at 50th Street after visiting her mother. Don't worry, Sally told her. The subway is safe. There's always a policeman on duty. But that night, she didn't see one. Except for her, the subway car was empty. At 42nd Street, 3 tough-looking men got on. 2 of them were holding up the third, who looked drunk. His head rolled from side to side, and his legs refused to work. When they got him seated between them, his head came to rest on one of his shoulders. Sally thought he was staring at her. She buried her head in a book and tried not to notice. At 28th Street, one of the men stood up. "Take it easy, Jim," he said to the man in the middle as he got off. At 23rd Street, Jim's other friend stood up. "You'll be fine," he said. And he got off. Now the only ones left in the car were Jim and Sally. Just then, the train went around a sharp curve, and Jim pitched in onto the floor at Sally's feet. When she looked down at him, she saw a trickle of blood on the side of his head, and just above it, a bullet hole. One of us. Yeah, some of these are pretty short. Some of them are a bit longer. He'll walk it off? Yeah, he'll be fine. Let's see, let's skip to a random other page and see what we get. Oh, this is a good one. It's called The Drum, chat. Once there were two sisters. Dolores was 7, and Sandra was 5. They lived in a small house in the country with their mother and their baby brother Arthur. Their father was a seaman and was away on a long voyage. Hola Phoenix, ¿cómo estás? ¿Ya comiste? No, no he comido nada. Meh. Solamente tomado leche. Which reminds me, I haven't finished my milk. Yes, chat. He was a seaman. How about you drum up some bitches? Jesus. You guys, chat. No, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. There was more. There's more than that. I just had to read chat. That was good milk. Alright. One day, Dolores and Sandra were running across a field near their house when they met a gypsy girl playing a drum. Family was camping in the field for a few days. As the girl played, a little mechanical man and woman came out of the drum and danced. Dolores and Sandra had never seen such a drum, and they begged the girl to give it to them. She looked at them and laughed. "I will give it to you," she said, "but only if you are really bad. Come back tomorrow and tell me how bad you were, and I will see." As soon as the two sisters got home, they started shouting, which was against the rules of their home. Oh, almost skipped the page. Then they wrote all over the walls with their crayons. At supper, they spilled their food, and when it was time for bed, they wouldn't go. They did everything they could think of to upset their mother. They were really bad. Early the next morning, they hurried off to find the gypsy girl. "We were really bad yesterday," they told her, "so please give us the drum." But when they told her what they had done, the gypsy girl laughed. "Oh, you must be much worse than that, if I am to give you the drum," she said. As soon as Dolores and Sandra got home, they pulled up all the flowers in the garden. They let the pig out and chased it away. They tore their clothes. They sloshed in the mud. They were a lot worse than the day before. "If you do not stop," their mother said, "I will go away and take Arthur with me, and you will get a new mother with glass eyes and a wooden tail." That scared Dolores and Sandra. They loved their mother and they loved Arthur. They could not imagine being without them, and they began to cry. "I don't want to leave you." "I don't want to leave you," their mother said. "But unless you change your behavior, I will have to leave you." "We'll be good," the girls promised. Yet they did not really behave. They did not really believe that their mother would go away. "She's just trying to scare us," Dolores said later. "We'll get the drum tomorrow," said Sandra. "Then we'll be good again." Early the next morning, they rushed off to find the gypsy girl. When they found her, she was playing the drum again, and the little man and woman were dancing. They told the gypsy girl how bad they had been the day before. "That must be bad enough to get the drum," they said. "Oh no," said the gypsy girl. "You must be much worse than that." "But we promised her mother to be good from now on," said the girls. "If you really want the drum," said the gypsy girl, "you must be much worse." "It's only for one more day," Dolores told Sandra. "Then we will have the drum." "I hope you're right," Sandra said. As soon as they got home, they beat the dog with a stick. They broke the dishes. They tore their clothes to pieces. They spanked their baby brother Arthur. Their mother began to cry. You're not keeping your promise, she said. We will be good, said Dolores. We promise, said Sandra. I can't wait much longer. And said their mother, please try. Early the next morning, before their mother was awake, Dolores and Sandra ran to see the gypsy girl. They told her all about the bad things they had done the day before. We were horrid, said Sandra. We were worse than we have ever been, said Dolores. Can we have the drum now, please? No, said the gypsy girl. I never meant to give it to you. It was just the game we were playing. I thought you knew that. Dolores and Sandra began to cry. They rushed home quickly as they could, but their mother and Arthur were gone. They're out shopping, said Dolores. They'll be back soon. But they were still not back when time for lunch came. Dolores and Sandra felt lonely and scared. They wandered through the field for the rest of the day. Maybe they will be home when we get back, said Dolores. When they got home, they saw through the window the lamps were lit, and there was a fire in the fireplace. But they did not see their mother and Arthur. Instead, there was their new mother, her glass eyes glistening, her wooden tail thumping on the floor. Why do they want the drum so bad? Because they're fucking kids. Mom has an oddly specific plan. She does. It is weird. Enjoy your new glass-eyed squirrel mom, girls. Yeah, it's very oddly specific. Like, yes. A new mom with glass eyes and a weird wooden tail's gonna replace you. That's the story, Jet. I feel like all the best stories are in the first book. I'm not gonna lie to you. The first book had some bangers. Do you want to read one more from this book, or do you want to swap books, chat? First book is the best? Yeah, I agree. How bad are you? So they blasted her and took the drum, Lamel. We have sounds? You want to hear sounds? Let's see. Sounds. The house was near the beach. It was a big old place where nobody had lived for years. Time to time, somebody would force open a window or a door and spend the night there, but never longer. 3 fishermen caught in a storm took shelter there one night. With some dry wood they found inside, they made a fire in the fireplace. They lay down on the floor and tried to get some sleep, but none of them slept that night. First, they heard footsteps upstairs. Sounds like there were several people moving back and forth, back and forth. When one of the fishermen called, "Who's up there?" the footsteps stopped. Then they heard a woman scream. Scream turned into a groan and died away. Blood began to drip from the ceiling into the room where the fishermen huddled. A small red pool formed on the floor and soaked the wood. The door upstairs crashed shut, and again the woman screamed. "Not me!" she cried. It sounded as if she was running, her high heels tapping wildly down the hall. "I'll get you!" a man shouted, and the floor shook as he chased her. Then silence. There wasn't a sound until the man who had shouted began to laugh. Long peals of horrible laughter filled the house. It went on, till the fishermen thought they would go mad. When finally it stopped, the fishermen heard someone coming down the stairs, dragging something heavy that bumped on each step. They heard him dragging through the front hall and out the front door. The door opened, and it slammed shut. Again, silence. Suddenly, a flash of lightning filled the house with a green blaze of light. A ghastly face stared at the fishermen from the hallway. Then came a crash of thunder. Terrified, they ran out into the storm. That's the story. Not me, said Rosa when the feet guys showed up. Well, now, fisherman bros get the worst of luck in these books. They do. It's true. No, said the man in Moscow. Those feet belong to the people. Hi, Zolotl. How's it going? Am I little? ¿Cómo estás? How have you been? Welcome in. I hope you're having a good time. We're just reading stories. Why is Rosa stuck on a TV? Because it's story time and TVs are creepy. Sometimes. I guess. I don't know. I've never had any creepy experiences with a TV, chat. I've had creepy experiences, all sorts of stuff. Never with the TV. Do you have any supernatural experiences, chat? Have you guys ever had anything happen to you guys? TV killed my mom. Wow, that's... I'm 12 and that's deep. Never had people on TV talk to you? No? Being off and suddenly crack? No? Well, that cracking sound is usually like... So I get those a lot. There's a lot of electricity in my room. There's a lot of electronics. And they'll, every now and again, they'll make the sound. Lived in a haunted church for a few years. That was wild. Those are interesting stories. Okay. I've got a lot of stories, chat, from stuff I've experienced. A lot of the people in my family, on my mom's side of the family, have sort of like a sense for those things. My mom has she's had spirits of people in her life that cared about her, come by and kind of uplift her and stuff like that. I've seen what do they call them, visitors? But I've seen the outline of my great uncle after he died, before I knew that he died. Rosa! Hi. Hi, Christopher. How's it going? Quick, hello before leaving already. Augie, do take care. I get deja vu a lot. I get deja vu a lot as well. And on a couple of occasions, chat, I've had it happen where I was able to foretell what was gonna happen before it happened. You know how when you get deja vu, you're like, oh fuck, this feels familiar, but I can't remember when or what, right? I've had it happen where I was able to recall exactly what was gonna happen next, chat. Ever had sleep paralysis? I used to get it. I get sleep paralysis all the time. Sleep paralysis doesn't really bother me though. When I was in middle school, chat, I used to be really interested in sleep paralysis. Cause there's a lot of interesting factors at play when you're going through sleep paralysis. And so I spent a week, maybe not a week, a few days, self-inducing sleep paralysis over and over again, trying to learn more about it. And I learned quite a few things, chat. The mind is a wacky, wacky place. One day my mom told me that while she was cooking dinner. I was talking to an imaginary friend. But when she came to ask who I was talking with, I told her, she scared my grandma. Ooh. That's a fun story. I don't remember a lot of the stuff from my childhood. But, I remember when I was in middle school, I had, for a good while, I had this, I don't know if I'd call it malicious, but I had this, sort of specter that would visit me, right? And it would do so at, random times, throughout the day. And, it was very odd, right? Because, I'd see it at school, I'd see it at home. And it was very strange, right? Because it wasn't someone I recognized, but at the same time it felt familiar. It was like a very tall man, but he's like hunched down. Tall, hunched man with long black hair. Thinner, older looking guy. I never figured out who it was. But I remember when I was in middle school, I was telling my aunt about it, and I described to her what I saw and what I kept seeing. And my aunt literally like shook. I saw her hairs go on end, right? The hairs on her arm. And she told me that when I was like really young, right? And back when I lived in the house that she lives in now, I once apparently exclaimed that there was a man down the hall. And when obviously there's no one fucking there. When I was asked to describe that man, I gave that exact same description. And this would have been like 10 years earlier, chat. So it was very, very strange. We have this like Santeria practice where we basically put like a glass as like an offering for the spirits, and they'll drink it. It's the wackiest thing. If you've ever seen chat how water evaporates, because water eventually evaporates even when you're in like a room with like AC and stuff. The water does eventually evaporate. And I had never seen water evaporate so quickly, chat. This isn't like the type of thing where like you watch it, right? It's the type of thing where like you'll check over on the glass and you'll be like, wow, a lot of the water's gone. That's kind of wacky. To give you an idea, we currently have a glass of water in my mom's room because we had a recent set of events that was quite interesting. And so we put a glass there. By the time my mom put the glass, I could already feel that the room was empty. But you know, whatever, it's fine. My mom put the glass there. And if I go check on it right now, the glass is still full. It's been since Monday. She put it there on Monday. And we're now on Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's been 4 days. It's been about half a week. Right? So the glass of water that we placed in my room had more water. It was a bigger glass. The wider glass we had at the time. By the end of the week, it was empty. Chat. It was literally empty by the end of the week. We placed it somewhere high up on like a shelf I had. Back then, my room was laid out differently and I had a different desk. We placed it up there. But yeah, that's an interesting thing that happened when I was in middle school. I remember I would get like these really, really bad like migraines out of nowhere. Maybe there's a low pressure weather system. What do you mean by that, Jaywalk? Don't you guys have similar room temps? Like me and my mom? Yeah. Well, especially right now, her AC... In the past, no, because her room would be a lot colder. Because she has... Her room has a separate AC than mine. That, like... But right now, the AC is off, so her room is going off the rest of the house's AC right now. They're not using the separate AC system. They only had that in because my stepdad liked having the room cold. But that's hot, you know? That's hot right now. But yeah. So that's a fun story. I can say there's another story later. I think it's a good time to swap back to the books, chat. I don't know, it's up to you. I have plenty of stories. Things that I've seen. Things that my mom has seen. Things that my brother has seen. AC while drying the air? What are you trying to say? We tried the lime/egg cleanse? Yeah. Yeah, my grandma has done that. Fuck, we have like... So, like, my grandma used to, like, practice, like, Santeria. And so, she has, like, I remember, like, growing up, she would do all sorts of shit, like, all the time. AC will dry the air. Yeah, but what's that gotta do with what I'm talking about? I thought it was heating that will dry the air? No. The AC will basically help to get rid of the moisture in the air. Like, especially here in Florida, it's really, really humid. The AC dehumidifies, yeah. Jaywalk is correct on this. That won't affect, though, the rate at which, like, the water evaporates in a cup inside of a room. Especially not so drastically. But, oh yeah, and if you've ever seen, like, it leaves, like, a film behind. It's kind of cool. But anyway. Alright, chat. Let's read a story from... Do you just want to see the last book? The first book for last? It's kind of the best one. Got the best stories in it. Let's read something from the, third book. Read all the stories. There's so many, though. There's so many. Leaves a film? You should probably not drink that water. No. I'm saying when the water evaporates, it leaves a film on the glass. I've never watched water evaporate normally, so I don't know if that normally happens. But I remember that happened. That was pretty cool. Do one of the songs? Songs. Depends on how hard your water is. Really hard water leaves a lot of film. I see. Let's see. See if we can find an interesting story here. So let's skip to a random page, chat. What story is this? The Trouble. Oh, yeah. The events of this story took place in 1958, in a small white house in a suburb of New York City. The names of the people involved have been changed. Monday, February 3rd. Tom Lombardo and his sister Nancy had just come home from school. Tom was going on 13. Nancy was 14. They were talking to their mother in the living room when they heard a loud pop in the kitchen. It sounded like a cork had been pulled from a bottle of champagne. You know what's crazy, chat? Chat, do you guys remember when I was playing, that line just kind of, I was like, huh. Do you guys remember, chat, when I was playing, what's this fucking game called? I was playing, the fucking, the Ghost game with Kelpie, the multiplayer one. Do you remember that, chat? There was a loud pop in my room. Do you guys fucking remember that? My uncle knew a girl who was rescued from a legit Satanist cult. Like, they actually sacrificed babies to Satan and stuff. Apparently she had an episode at school. And she, a 90-pound girl, fought off 5 guys on the football team, trying to pin her down. Yeah, I can believe that. Phasmo, yeah, that's the game. I was playing Phasmo with Kelpie. And on stream, you could hear the fucking sound. I made it into a short. There's a loud fucking pop that just randomly fucking happens. I don't know where the fuck it came from. I, like, looked around my room to see, like, what the fuck that could have been, because it was too loud to be, like, normal, like electric static. Like, the normal, like, little, like, tap, or, like, pop that happens every now and again. Just from, like, electricity. Like, I looked around to see if maybe, like, I left any bottles, like, half, like, squished, and then, like, they, like, pressurized or something, and I made that pop sound when, like, when the fucking plastic expanded or something. I looked around, chat. I couldn't find where the fuck that came from. It sounded like it was right fucking next to me when it happened. It was the wackiest shit. But, yeah, that's actually a short on the channel. And, like, Kelby was like, did you just, like, pop a fucking cork or something? Like, did you just open a bottle of champagne? And I was like, no. Fuck was that? Yeah, that was wacky. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading. But it was nothing like that. The cap on a bottle of starch had somehow come unscrewed, and the bottle had tipped over and spilled. Then bottles all over the house began popping. Bottles of nail polish remover, shampoo, bleach, rubbing alcohol, even a bottle of holy water. Each had a screw cap that took 2 or 3 full turns to open, but each had opened by itself, without any human help. They had fallen over, and spilled. What is going on here? Miss Lombardo asked. Nobody knew. But the popping soon stopped, and everything went back to normal. It was just one of those crazy things, they decided, and put it out of their minds. Thursday, February 6th. Just after Tom and Nancy got home from school, 6 more bottles popped their caps. The next day, at about the same time, another 6 did. Sunday, February 9th. At 11 o'clock that morning, Tom was in the bathroom brushing his teeth. His father was standing in the doorway, talking to him. All of a sudden, a bottle of medicine began moving across the vanity by itself and fell into the sink. At the same time, a bottle of shampoo moved to the edge of the vanity and crashed to the floor. They watched, spellbound. I'd better call the police, Mr. Lombardo said. That afternoon, a patrolman interviewed the family as bottles popped in the bathroom. The police assigned Detective Joseph Briggs to the case. Detective Briggs was a practical man. When something moved, he believed that a human or an animal had moved it, and that it moved because of the vibration or the wind of some other natural cause. He did not believe in ghosts, which is valid. When the Lombardos said they had nothing to do with what was going on, he thought that at least one of them was lying. He wanted to examine the house. He wanted to talk to some experts and find out what they thought. Tuesday, February 11th. The bottle of holy water that had opened a week before opened a second time and spilled. 2 days later, spilled again. Saturday, February 15th. Tom, Nancy, and a relative were watching TV in the living room when a small porcelain statue rose up from a table. It flew 3 feet through the air and then fell to the rug. Monday, February 17th. A priest blessed the Lombardo's house to protect it against whatever was causing the trouble. Thursday, February 20th. While Tom was doing his homework at one end of the dining room table, a sugar bowl at the other end flew into the hall and crashed. Detective Briggs saw it happen. Later, a bottle of ink on the table flew into a wall and broke, spattering in all directions. Then another porcelain statue took off. It traveled 12 feet, smashed into a desk. Friday, February 21st. To get some peace, the Lombardos went to a relative's house for the weekend. While they were gone, everything at home was normal. Sunday, February 23rd. When the Lombardos returned, another sugar bowl took off. It flew into a wall and smashed to smithereens. Later, a heavy bureau in Tom's room toppled over, but no one was in the room when it happened. Monday, February 24th. By now, Detective Briggs had talked to an engineer, a chemist, a physicist, and others. Some thought the vibrations in the house were causing the trouble. These could come from underground water, they said, or from high-frequency radio waves, or from sonic booms caused by airplanes. Others said that the electrical system was the cause, or downdrafts coming through the chimney. The popping of bottles was blamed on chemicals the bottle contained. Tests showed that there were no vibrations in the house, there was nothing wrong with the electrical system, and there were no chemicals in the bottles that would make them pop. Then what was causing the trouble? None of the experts knew. But every day the Lombardos received dozens of letters and telephone calls from people who thought they did know. Many believed that the house was haunted. They thought that a poltergeist was on the loose. The noisy ghost that is blamed when things move around on their own. No one had proved that poltergeists exist, but people everywhere have told stories about them for hundreds of years. And what they have told was not too different from what was happening to the Lombardos. Detective Briggs did not, of course, believe in poltergeists. He had begun to believe that Tom Lombardo might be to blame. Whenever something happened, Tom was usually in the room or nearby. When he accused Tom of causing the trouble, the boy denied it. "I don't know what's going on," he said. "All I know is that it scares me." People said that Detective Briggs was a tough cop who would turn in his mother if she did something wrong. Turn on his mother, I guess. But he believed Tom. Only now he didn't know what to think. Tuesday, February 25th. A newspaper reporter came to the house to interview the family. Afterwards, he sat in the living room by himself, hoping that something would happen that he could describe in his story. Tom's room was just across the hall from where the reporter sat. The boy had gone to bed, but he had left his door open. Suddenly, a globe of the world flew out of the darkened room and smashed into a wall. The reporter dashed into the bedroom and turned on the light. Tom was sitting in bed, blinking, as if he had just been awakened from a sound sleep. "What was that?" he asked. Wednesday, February 26th. In the morning, a small plastic statue of the Virgin Mary rose up from a dresser in Mr. and Mrs. Lombardo's bedroom and flew into a mirror. That night, while Tom was doing his homework, a 10-pound recorder player took off from a table, flew 15 feet, and crashed into the floor. Friday, February 28th. Two scientists arrived from Duke University in North Carolina. They were parapsychologists who studied experiences like those that the Lombardos were having. They spent several days talking to the family and examining the house, trying to understand what was going on and what was causing it. One night, a bottle of bleach popped its top, but that was all that happened during their visit. They did not tell the Lombardos about a theory they had that a poltergeist actually might be involved in such cases. According to this idea, poltergeists were not ghosts. They were normal teenagers. They had become so troubled by a problem that their emotions built up into the kind of vibration. It was taking place in their unconscious mind, they didn't even know it was happening. The vibration somehow left their bodies and moved whatever it struck. Happened again and again until the problems had been solved. Scientists had given this strange power a name. They called it psychokinesis, the ability to move objects with mental power, or mind over matter. No one knew if this really could happen or how to prove it, yet most reports of poltergeists did involve families with teenage children. And there were 2 teenagers in the Lombardo family. Monday, March 3rd. The parapsychologists said that they would prepare a report on what they had learned. The day after they left, the trouble returned with a vengeance. Tuesday, March 4th. In the afternoon, a bowl of flowers flew off the dining room table and smashed into a cupboard. Then a bottle of bleach jumped out of the cardboard box and popped its top. Then a bookcase filled with encyclopedias fell over and wedged itself between a radiator and a wall. Then a flashlight bulb on a table rose up and hit a wall 12 feet away. Finally, 4 knocks were heard coming from the kitchen, but nobody was in that room. Wednesday, March 5th. While Mrs. Lombardo was making breakfast, she heard a loud crash in the living room. The coffee table had turned over by itself, but that was the end of it. After a month of chaos, everything returned to normal. In August, the 2 parapsychologists gave their report. They said the Lombardos had not made up the story, nor had they imagined it. The trouble had been real, but what had caused it? They said that no pranks or tricks were involved, nor was any magic. As the police had done, they also ruled out vibrations from underground water and other physical causes. The only explanation they could not rule out was the possibility that teenage poltergeist had been at work, moving objects with mental power. They did not have enough evidence to prove it, but it was the only answer they had. If it was a poltergeist, they thought it was Tom. If they were right, if a normal boy like Tom had become a poltergeist, this might happen to other children. It might even happen to you. Huh? Huh? Yes, all of you teenagers in my chat. All of you 20-some, 30-some-year-old teenagers, chat. Might happen to you, chat. You never know. It's been 3 weeks of this shit. Just move out for real. Ghosts that break and throw things aren't scary. They're just rude. True. 22-year-old teenagers? Yeah, dude. Wish I turned into a poltergeist somehow. Something like the loud pop thing happened to me in high school once. Sitting in class and I heard a loud pop. The weird thing is, only around half the people in the classroom heard the pop. That's interesting. Yeah, very unlike this story. The pop that I heard during stream, I couldn't find the fucking source for. You obviously have a massive teenage audience, just ignore your analytics. Yeah, dude. What the fuck was that? Forever 16's in chat. Is that a weird sound from the kitchen? I'll be right back, chat. I'm back. Oh, hey. That was a pretty good one. I like that one. Don't check out the weird noise, not today. Well, math. Do you guys want to hear another one? Or do you guys want to hear a personal story? Chat. Talk to me, chat. Your bones would be popping off and shit. Dude, I remember one time my fucking hip cracked while I was setting up something with Koa back before I debuted. And like Koa fucking made fun of me. She called me Auntie Rosa from then on. That's where that came from, by the way. I got up to go turn off the fucking light and my fucking hip cracked. Like, audibly. Personal story? Like the idea of alternating? The thing is, there's a lot more stories in these books than I have. This is a good one. Ginny did the white people thing? Huh. What was that strange noise? Let's go investigate. Yeah, I don't really... I'm not really afraid of, like, stuff like that, chat. Oh, yeah. I'm a lot more afraid of, like, the physical things, like a person with the weapon, than any ghost. Or any apparition or whatever. This is a story from when I was in high school, chat. So, I was in high school. When I was in high school, I had a really weird, sort of, like, schedule. Because I didn't really like being awake during the day. So, what I would do is I would come home from school, I'd walk the dog, I'd take a shower, and then I would, go to sleep. I'd go sleep in, like, the afternoon. I'd wake up at night, play video games, whatever, get ready for school, go to school, repeat. Right? So, this day, this was, let's see, I would have been like 17, chat. So this was like one of like my last years of high school. Probably my last one, as a matter of fact. And I know this because of I remember what orientation my room was in. And I think I was 17 when we, like, reoriented my room. Oh no, I was 16. I was 16. I think I was 16, Jack. 16? Can't remember. 16 or 17, one of those. So my bed was in the center of the room, right? With some space on both sides. On the right side of my bed when you walk in, it's like my closets and stuff like that, right? Exactly where they still are. On the left side, at the feet of my bed, I had my TV, and then to the right of that, so on the left side of the room, left corner, I had, like, my computer at the time, like my laptop set up and stuff like that. And then next to that is a chair, right? Behind that's my chair. And, so this particular day, right? I got home, grabbed the leash, walked the dog, came back, showered, and actually, no, I'm wrong. This particular day, chat, I was tired. So I came home and I went straight to lay down. That's what I did. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I laid down in bed. I remember I still had my fucking school clothes on. I didn't want to change, I was too lazy. I remember I like unbuttoned my pants, right? And just laid down. So I'm laying down in my bed, right? And the window's like kind of open, so there's some ambient light coming in. And whatever, I'm just kind of like, I'm laying down with my eyes closed, I'm facing my closets. Back then, my closets still had the sliding doors. The sliding doors were mirror doors. So, I'm facing that direction. That's the direction I would normally face. I'd face the direction of my closet whenever I slept. And I have my eyes closed, and I hear like a sound, like a little creaking sound. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I open my eyes, and I see that my chair behind me on the other side of the bed is slowly turning from facing kind of towards the wall, towards my computer, to facing kind of towards like my TV, towards like the feet of my bed. I was like, that's fucking weird. On its own, slowly turned. Okay, I mean, the AC comes from a vent that's right above the closet, and it's facing that direction. It's the direction I'm currently sitting in right now. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is the wind. I turn over in bed, and I see the light coming kind of through the window, reflecting off of a figure that's sitting on the chair. It looks like an old man, kind of like sat down, hunched forward just a little bit. Pretty decent posture. And like I see like the outline of this person. The outline kind of reminded me of like my grandpa. And he turned to me. Right? I could see that he turned to look at me. Right? I remember I blinked, and it was still there. Right? He like smiled. And then I blinked again, and he was gone. And I was like, okay, I'm tired. Maybe I'm seeing things. Whatever. It's cool. I went back to bed. Right? Actually, no. Before I went to bed, I told my mom about it. I can't remember if I told her about it or if I slept first. I was really tired. I can't remember. But whatever. So at some point, right within that day, I told my mom about it. I think it was right then. Because I remember, since it looked like my grandpa, I was kind of worried. And my grandpa was in the backyard working on, like, yard work. Whatever. So I got up. I talked to my mom about it. This is a story from, like, 6 years ago? I don't remember the specifics, but I do remember I talked to my mom about it. And mom was like, yeah, no, your grandpa's fine. Like, your grandpa's okay. That's weird. Whatever. It's probably nothing. Cool. No sweat. Couple days later, chat. My mom pulls me aside. And she says, hey, do you remember that thing that you saw the other day? And I was like, yeah, I remember. And so she's like, okay, well, your grandma, not your grandpa, your grandma has a brother, right? Who historically has been known to look like your grandpa. Like, pretty identical. Like, they look quite similar. To the point where, when they were young, when my grandpa and my grandma first got together when they were young, people in the neighborhood thought that my grandma was dating her own brother. And they were like an incest thing. Because they look so similar. And I was like, okay, you're telling me this because? And so she told me that, well, we just got a call from Cuba. That particular great uncle had been missing for 3 days. He had gone mad, ran off into like the wilderness outside the town. They live like a little fishing village. And they just found him. He's been dead for a few days. That's the story, chat. The worst thing is knowing that your grandma dating someone who looks like her brother is one of the more tame things in your family, Lamel. Gone mad? Yeah. As he got older, he'd been dealing with a lot of, like mental issues, like dementia and stuff like that. And, like, man's just full schizo. Like, he was forgetting who people are and stuff like that. He thought that, like, his daughter, who would take care of him, he would think that it's his mom. Sometimes. Become like the Biden Lamel. The moral of the story is something's no. But yeah, so that's an interesting story I've got. Alright, let's read another fucking story from the book. Let's see. What's a good one, chat? You want to read the bus stop, chat? Why take melatonin to get the craziest dreams? I've had a lot of people say that. And people have been like, oh, like, do you drink melatonin? Maybe that's why you have weird dreams. It's like, no, I don't. The bus stop. Ed Cox was driving home from work in a rainstorm. While he waited for traffic light to change, he saw a young woman standing alone at the bus stop. She had no umbrella and was soaking wet. Are you going toward Farmington? He called. Why, yes, I am, she said. Would you like a ride home? I would, she said, and she got in. My name is Joanna Finney. Thank you for rescuing me. I'm Ed Cox, he said. Then you're welcome. On the way, they talked and talked. She told him about her family and her job and where she had gone to school, and he told her about himself. By the time they got to the house, the rain had stopped. I'm glad it rained, Ed said. Would you like to go out tomorrow after work? I'd love to, Joanna said. She asked him to meet her at the bus stop, since it was near her office. They had such a good time, they went out many times after that. Dogs barking outside. Always, they would meet at the bus stop, and off they would go. Ed liked her more each time he saw her. But one night, when they had a date to go out, Joanna did not appear. Ed waited at the bus stop for almost an hour. Maybe something was wrong. he thought, and he drove to her house in Farmington. An older woman came to the door. "I met Cox," he said. "Maybe Joanna told you about me. I had a date with her tonight. We were supposed to meet up at the bus stop near her office. But she didn't show up. Is she alright?" The woman looked at him as if he had said something strange. "I'm Joanna's mother," he said slowly. "Joanna isn't here now, but why don't you come in?" Ed pointed to a picture on the mantel. "It looks just like her," he said. "It did once," her mother replied. "But that picture was taken when she was your age, about 20 years ago. A few days later, she was waiting in the rain at that bus stop. A car hit her, and she was killed." How I Met Your Mother's Murderer. Musically enough, they did the same story on Fact or Fiction way back. Yeah, Bear. So a lot of the books in these, a lot of the stories in these books, they're stories that have been collected like over time. Basically, the idea is, as far as I remember, that the author would basically travel, and then he would basically like hear the stories that people would tell him. Then he'd, put them into these books. The book is full of like sources at the back, where he basically like it's basically said like, hey, like here's where this was from, here's where that was from, etc. Yeah, he basically talks about like where he heard the stories, like originally. Or at least like where he heard them, right? Where he got them from. They're folklore stories and urban legends, yeah, exactly. He never got the gussy! So close. This is a fun little, poem. It's called You May Be the Next. Did you ever think there was a hearse? Did you ever think as a hearse goes by, that you may be the next to die? They wrap you up in a big white sheet. From your head down to your feet. And the worms crawl in and the worms crawl out. In your stomach and out of your snout. And your eyes fall out and your teeth decay. And that is the end of a perfect day. Cute. Cute little story. Let's read another one. This last one I'm gonna read from book 3, then we'll swap to book 1, chat. The Dead Hand. The village huddled on the edge of a vast swamp. As far as one could see, there were soggy meadows, holes filled with black water, and glistening sheets of wet, spongy peat. Skeletons of giant trees, snags, the people called them, rose up out of the muck, their dead branches reaching out. God, I ran out of breath. Sorry. Like song, twisted arms. Like long twisted arms, sorry. During the day, the men in the village cut the peat and hauled it home to dry and sell for fuel. But when the sun went down, and the wind, sighing and moaning, came in from the sea, the men were quick to leave. Strange creatures took over the swamp at night, and some even came into the village. That's what everyone said. People were so afraid they would not go out alone after dark. Young Tom Pattison was the only person in the village who did not believe in these creatures. On his way home from work, he'd whisper to his friends, "There's one!" And they would jump and run. And Tom would laugh and laugh. Finally, some of his friends turned on him. "If you know so much," they said, "go back into the swamp some night and see what comes of it." "I'll do it," said Tom. "I work out there every day. Not once have I ever seen anything to frighten me. Why should it be different at night? Tomorrow night, I'll take my lantern and walk out to the willow snag. If I get scared and run, I'll never make fun of you guys again." The next night, the men went to Tom Patterson's house to see him on his way. Thick clouds covered the moon. It was the blackest of nights. When they arrived, Tom's mother was pleading with him not to go. "I'll be all right," he said. "There's nothing to be afraid of. Don't be foolish like the rest." He took his lantern and, singing to himself, headed down the spongy path towards the willow snag. Some of the young men wondered if Tom wasn't right. Maybe they were afraid of things that did not exist. A few decided to follow him and see for themselves, but they stayed far behind in case they ran into trouble. They were sure they saw dark shapes moving about, but Tom's lantern kept bobbing up and down, and Tom's songs kept floating back to them. And nothing happened. Finally, they caught sight of the willow snag. There was Tom standing in a circle of light, looking this way and that. All of a sudden, the wind blew out his lantern, and Tom stopped singing. The men stood stock still in the blackness, waiting for something awful to happen. The clouds shifted and the moon came out. There was Tom again, only now he had his back pushed up against the willow snag. He had his arms out in front of him, as if he were fighting something off. From where the men stood, it looked like dark shapes were swirling in around him. Then the clouds covered the moon again. Once more it was as black as pitch. When the moon came out again, Tom was hanging on the willow snag with one arm. His other arm stretched out in front of him, as if something was pulling it. It looked to the men as if a rotting, moldy hand with no arm, a dead hand, had grabbed Tom's hand. With one final wrench, whatever was hold of Tom jerked him to the muck. That's what the men said. When the clouds blotted out the moon once more, the men turned and ran through the blackness towards the village. Again and again they lost the path and fell into the muck and water holes. In the end, they crawled back on their hands and knees, but Tom Patterson was not with them. In the morning, people searched everywhere for Tom. Finally, they gave him up for lost. A few weeks later, towards the evening, the villagers heard a cry. It was Tom's mother. She was rushing down the path from the swamp, shouting and waving. When she was sure the villagers had spotted her, she turned and ran back. Off they went after her. They found young Tom Patterson by the willow snag, groaning and gibbering as if he had lost his mind, yet pointing with one hand at something only he could see. Where his other hand should have been, there was nothing but a ragged stump oozing blood. The hand had been ripped clean off. Everybody said it was the dead hand that had done it, but nobody really knows. Nobody will ever know, except Tom Patterson. And he never spoke another word again. Hi, Bob! How's it going? The worms come, the worms go. Your mom is still a giant ho-ho. Sun Tzu. Well, don't you laugh when a hearse goes by? Like maybe the next to die. Eee. Don't you laugh when a hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die. Sounds like the skill issue, Tom? Yeah. Tom failed the parry. He got grabbed. Tom got fucking command grabbed. Rest in peace. Let's see, I'm trying to think of a story I can tell you guys. The personal story. Oh, you know what? We were talking earlier about deja vu, right? Sorry, I'm shaking my milk. I opened another one. I got myself like a case of like Ensure, like nutrition shakes, and they're really fucking good. They're really good. Get command grab, the monster said GG, shake my hand, Lamo. The big white sheep bury you on a hole about 6 feet deep. You know any Cuban folk tales or voodoo something or voodoo or something? The only story I can think of involving voodoo or like Santeria or Brujeria or any of that I personally know of is my grandpa's story about what happened to his dad. Are they helping? Yeah, these are helping a lot. These have like fucking 350 calories in them. These things are fucking thick. But anyway, so my grandpa does not really believe in voodoo. He thinks it's all kind of bullshit. But he respects it. His dad didn't believe it either. And, well, here comes the story. You dinosaur? No, I'm a snake. Hi, Dogma. So, how the story goes, right? My grandpa's only ever spoken to me about voodoo stuff on 2 occasions. The first one was when I was younger, and he would take me to school, he'd tell me stories from his childhood. And one time as we were driving, up ahead on the road, there was like a bag on the ground, like a black bag, with like, feathers coming out of it. And my grandpa was like, I'm gonna take a turn here and we'll go around it. And I was like, why? It's just a bag on the floor, just go drive over it. And my grandpa explained to me the reason why, even though he doesn't really believe in voodoo or in Santeria or Brujeria or any of that crap, he does respect it. He does. And that's when he told me the story about what happened to his dad. The second time my grandpa ever told me about voodoo, or talked to me about anything voodoo related, was actually on Monday. This Monday. And we'll get to that in a minute. But first let's talk about my great-grandpa. So my great-grandpa was a very proud man, from what I've heard. I never got to meet him. I did meet his wife, my great-grandma on my grandpa's side. She was very nice. She's actually the person that got me hooked on coffee. Fun fact. When I was a wee little baby. In order to get me to keep onto my pacifier, she would dip it in coffee. But anyway, so this the tree fucker grandpa? Yes, that same grandpa. So my grandpa told me the story of what happened to his dad. So his dad was very proud. He didn't really care about Santeria or Brujeria. And one day he pissed off. Basically what happened is that somebody, who was known to be like a brujero, told him something that he didn't like. It was something involving his future, something that was gonna happen to him. And he told the guy to fuck off and spit on him. And so, I can't remember what the exact wording was that my grandpa told me from his story. But basically, like, the guy told him, that, I remember what the wording was. It was something involving his roots, right? Like you will die from a blight, at your roots, or something like that. I can't remember what the fuck it was. But it was something along those lines. Something about his roots, right? Saying that, like, something, one day he would die because of something in his roots. Well, the day after that, my, great-grandpa noticed he had a little mark on his ankle. Fun story, chat. I also have a mark on my ankle, by the way. In the same spot that, supposedly my great-grandpa had it. This is really interesting. And I don't know what it means, or if it matters at all. But this is something really interesting that my grandpa mentioned to me. He was like, yeah, he had it right there. And so, what happened was that, he was like, oh, it's just a spot. No big deal. Whatever. Carry on his day. Everything was fine for, like, a couple months, right? By the way, he was perfectly fine. He was perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong with him. He didn't have any issues, right? Well, one day he's walking and his legs give out. He can't feel his legs. They go numb completely. Wife accused him of drinking. He's just been drinking. His legs went numb, you know, drink a lot. When you drink a lot, your legs start to get, like, they get, what's what I'm looking for? Like, when you're dealing with alcohol poisoning, because you drink too much, your legs will get, like, inflamed. What's what? No, not weak. What's what I'm looking for? They'll get, like, hinchado. Fuck, what's the word for that in English? Swollen, that's it. Yeah, they'll get swollen, right? When you're dealing with alcohol poisoning, your legs will get swollen. They'll start to kind of feel kind of numb. That's a thing that happens. When you drink, like, hard liquor, you get alcohol poisoning. But, it wouldn't go away. And he went to the hospital. Long story short, he had cancer. The cancer had started at his ankle and climbed all the way up his body. And he didn't notice it, he didn't detect it, there was no symptoms, until that day. And that day, when they took him to the hospital, it was already too late. Because it had, the cancer had spread from his ankle, all the way up his leg, a little bit down his other leg, and then all the way up, like, into his, like, lower abdomen. And so, since that day, my grandpa respects voodoo. Let me get that mark checked. No, I've had this mark since I was, like, a baby. Like, I've had this mark since I was a little, like little kid. It's been there forever. Hey, Taku's twin. How's it going? Sounds emphatic. Yeah, I'm all good, Dogma. Oh, man. But, yeah. That's something that happened. The second time that my grandpa told me about voodoo was recently. It was on Monday. So, last week, while I was shaving my legs before a Dark Souls stream. Not the most recent one, but the one before that. Right? And I was shaving my legs in my mom's bathroom. I've experienced presences in this house on multiple occasions. Usually, they're not malicious. Occasionally, they are, and if they are, they're kind of harmless. Usually I recognize them. While I was shaving, so my cat went with me over to that room. My cat really wanted to enter that room. I was like, fuck it, yeah, whatever, I let her in. I follow the cat. As I'm heading to the bathroom, the cat's walking ahead of me, also going to the bathroom. The second I walk in, I turn on the lights. They both turn on, and then one of them starts to flicker, and I was like, that's fucking weird. So I turn it off, and while the lights are off, the one that started flickering does not stop. It keeps flickering. I was like, well, that's even weirder. I turn it back on, I figured, okay, well maybe it's the bulb. No past electrical issues, not in that room. I figured, oh, maybe it's the room. Actually, no, it's a lie. In that bathroom, I've been shocked by the handle. The shower handle. Like, to actually control the water. I've been shocked by that on multiple occasions. But yeah, so I figured, like, yeah, it's just like an electrical issue, no big deal. I take off the bulb. I put it somewhere else. So there's 2 bulbs, right? Slot A, B, and C, right? Bulb A, well, there's 5 slots, but 2 of them aren't being used. Like there's old bulbs in that one, in those slots, and like we just haven't replaced them. We don't really need that much lighting in the bathroom. But there's a slot A, B, and C. The bulb that started having issues was in slot B. The good bulb was in slot C. I moved the bulb that was having issues into slot A. It still had issues. I moved the good bulb into slot B. It still worked fine. So, what I'm getting is that it's not an issue with the electricity, but rather an issue with the bulb. The bulb's dying. No big deal. Okay. I swap them, so I have the good light on A, which is closer to the toilet, which is where I'll have like my leg where I'm shaving. I place my leg on top of the toilet, so I can shave, and I bend down, right? So I can kind of look behind me towards the door, right? I'm like looking upside down kind of behind me towards the door, which is open. And I see my cat just kind of like walking around, looking around the room, as if she's following something. Maybe it's a bug. And then I hear a noise. Then I hear another noise. It's like little cracklings, right? Just like normal, like, static, right? From the room. Normal stuff you get, right? And then I hear something shift. Like something physically move. And I look over and I'm like, well, what the fuck? I heard it all the way over there. My cat's all the way over here. Whatever. My brother comes in, whatever. I think I had my brother bring me like a flashlight. I told him to bring me a... No, this is before that. I'm trying to recall the order of events. My brothers both came in. We just kind of talked. The older of my 2 brothers said something felt weird in the room. And then he left. No big deal. I didn't even say anything. I didn't mention anything. So I'm sitting there shaving. And then I see what looks like legs. Like, looks like a person's legs go past the door. I figured my brother came back into my room. I see my cat follows behind him. And I call to my brother, hey bro. No response. I'm like, what the fuck? Hello? I step outside of the bathroom and I see that there's no one in the room except for my cat, who's sitting next to the bathroom door looking up at like a fucking, like a dresser. And I'm like, okay. Well, that was a thing. And so as I'm shaving, I keep hearing noises in the room. Not the bathroom, in the room. And then at some point I hear like a pretty significant noise, like something's moving, like about to fall, moving. And I step outside, so I'm like, okay, the cat's pushing something off of like the dresser, I guess. And my cat is not on the dresser, she's on the floor. And the bathroom, yes, so my mom's room is the master bedroom, so the bathroom's connected to it. It's inside of it. My cat is not on the dresser, she's on the floor. She turns around, she wasn't facing the door, turns around and fucking bolts it out of the room. My cat zooms out of the fucking room. Right? I'm like, okay. That happened. Whatever. I go over, I close the door, so the cat doesn't come back in. And then I come back, inside. I'm shaving, whatever, my brother shows up. He brings me a flashlight. It was just charged. So, okay, cool. Full battery. And so, cause like, it's kind of dim with the one light, and like the other light, like, you know, doing its thing. Whatever. I, you know, finish my shaving, whatever. My brother mentioned something's really fucking off. And I'm just like, yeah, it's just, you know, Pretty sure we have a visitor. I don't recognize him, though. It doesn't give me a bad vibe, just gives me a mischievous vibe. You know, it feels like he's trying to fuck with me, trying to get my attention like he's doing with the cat. No big deal. And so, as I'm there with my brother, right, we hear, like, a noise of, like, the door. As if someone, like, knocked or something, or, like, I don't know, just, like a weird noise, right? Like a... Almost like scratching. Perhaps it was the cat. I was like, oh, it's probably the cat. My brother goes over to open the door for the cat. There's no cat. The cat's not there. The cat's not even in the hallway. That's weird. Whatever. As my brother leaves, I'm finishing my shaving. And this whole time, by the way, I've been telling, like, the visitor to fuck off. I'm not afraid, I'm not scared of you. Just leave me the fuck alone. At some point, I said it in Spanish. And it finally dipped. It went off into the corner of the room. Whatever. So I go and I tell my mom. My brother thinks this is my mom's boyfriend. My mom's ex-boyfriend, the one she had before she dated my dad. The day that he died, right? They had gotten in a fight a couple days before. And he came by my mom's house to drop off some, like, food or something for my grandma. And even though they had fought, he told my mom that, like, hey, you know, don't worry. Like, I'm not going anywhere, right? Like, us breaking up is temporary. I just need my space, right? You need your space. But, like, I'll always be here for you. I'll be with you forever, right? Something like that, like a really cheesy, like, they were young, they were, like, early 20s at the time. Very cheesy, like, oh, like, I'll always be with you, like, you know, whatever. That sort of thing. He leaves. That day, he dies in a motorcycle accident. My mom has experienced on multiple occasions seeing him and feeling uplifted in this house, in her room. She has a picture of him she still keeps around. And even to this day, she still every now and again sees him. Well, I would recognize it if it was him, but I didn't say anything. My brother figured, oh, it's just him. He's just fucking with you. We go over to, I tell my mom, hey mom, just so you know you have a visitor in your bathroom, or your room. You could deal with that. I don't know him. It's not for me. I don't think he cares about me. Whatever. So my mom says, well, no. That's not my... Because, like, my brother mentioned to her, like, oh, I think it's just your ex-boyfriend. My mom's like, no. So my mom hasn't been going into that room for a while because she's been feeling it as well for a few days, apparently. Beforehand, for this. And to her, it feels malicious. Okay. That's fine. No worries. No sweat. Whatever. Cut to a couple days later, Monday of this week. And I head over there to take a shower in the morning. When I get in, the light's still... It was fine, and then I get in, I turn on the light, and then it went from fine to flashing again. Okay. Whatever. I put down my like, the shorts I was planning on wearing. No, the pants I was planning on wearing, because I was having, the tech guy for, my internet, come in that day. Early in the morning. And so, I put my pants on, like, the, like, little holder that's, like, on, like, the sliding door for the bathroom. And I'm gonna put in the shirt, and I'm like, I kinda wanna wear a different shirt. So, I start heading back. As I leave the bathroom, and I start making my way towards the room, like, the door to the room, which I did close. The door to my mom's my mom's room, not her bathroom, her room, has a mirror on the back of it. It's covered in, like, stuff that's, like, hanging from it, from, like, the same thing that it's hanging off of. But you can see the bottom of it. You can see the bottom of the mirror. And so I see my feet as they're approaching the door for me to leave the room. And as I get closer to the door, I see that behind me are someone else's feet. Like someone else's legs. And I turn around and there's nobody there. So I'm like, okay. So I go open the door. I head back over to my room to grab like a different shirt. And as I'm coming back, my grandpa's in the house. So, currently in the house, by the way, my mom went to go take the kids to school. Currently in the house, it's me, my grandma, my grandpa, and my cats. That's it. It's everyone in the house. I'm like, you know, I come over to talk to my grandpa. My grandpa randomly asks me, is there like a full moon or something? Or like a new moon? I can't remember what the fuck he asked me specifically, but it was like a weird voodoo question. I was like, I don't fucking know. I don't keep track of this shit. Why? And it's just like, I don't know, I heard somewhere that like the moon affects people's moods and stuff like that. Like, I got in a fight with your mom, and I don't know, she's just been really like extra today. Right? She's usually anal, but she's being a little extra anal today. Right? And I don't know, man, there's something off about this house. My grandpa's not the type to talk about shit like that, ever. Right? So that's fucking weird. But you know, whatever. I keep talking. And he's telling me how he's always had a problem with this house. He's never liked this house since the day we first got it. It's always felt off. He's never liked this house. Right? When we got this house, it was abandoned. Right? Even as my dad and my uncle like refurbished and renewed the house and like made everything new and clean and etc., he never got rid of the ick of this house. My grandpa's hobby is gardening. It's what he likes to do. It's what he's always liked doing. He has a beautiful garden with flowers and all sorts of like plants and stuff in the front yard, also in the backyard. And he never mentioned this to me, but he told me that throughout the years, as he's done gardening, he's found stuff buried in the backyard that he thinks are like voodoo crap, right? He's tossed them out, you know, whatever, no big deal. But it still gives him the ick, right? It still bothers him. Right? And so he mentioned that, like, you know, just, he's found things buried in the backyard throughout the years. Which is weird. Right? And so, yeah, he was just like, yeah, something's just off about this house. I don't feel right. Something feels wrong. I'm gonna go out for a walk. So he goes out for a walk. He's no longer in the house. Just me, my grandmother, who can barely walk, she's sleeping on the couch, and my cat. So I head over, right, to the bathroom. Okay, no worries. I head in, I close the door to the room behind me, and I lock it. Then I go into the bathroom, and I close the door behind me, and I lock it. Whatever. I get undressed, turn on the water. As I'm about to step into the shower, I hear, like, banging on the door. Not the door to the bathroom, the door to the room, right? Like knocking, like heavy knocking on the door. And before that knocking finishes, I hear a lighter but still pretty aggressive, like, knocking on the door to the bathroom. So I heard knocking on both doors roughly at the same time. That's fucking weird. Whatever. I head into the shower. I start doing my shower. I'm actually talking in the Discord, telling people like, hey, like, this is fucking happening. This is fucking weird. Whatever. So I'm just kind of like texting people in the community Discord. Some of you probably already heard this story. And yeah, the entire thing was fucking weird. But whatever, right? The rest of the shower is relatively uneventful. I hear the occasional noise. Totally didn't just jump from you knocking, sorry, Bear. And so I called, before I started like messaging, I called my grandpa, right? When I stepped into the shower, I called my grandpa and I was like, hey, did you just knock on the door? And my grandpa's like, no. I went out for a walk. I'm like a couple blocks down. And I was like, okay. Never mind then. The fuck? Okay, cool. Cause like my first impression was my grandpa's fucking with me, but like that can't be right. So whatever. I'm taking my shower. At some point, my grandpa scares the absolute fuck out of me. It's been maybe like, I don't know, like 10, 20 minutes. And my fucking grandpa opens the fucking door. I hear the door to the room, and then I hear the door to the bathroom, and my grandpa comes in, and I fucking jump in the shower. And he's like, hey, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Everything's fine. Just my grandpa. No big deal. Weren't you on a walk? No, since you called me, I came back to check on you. I was like, alright, cool. Thanks. He leaves. And about a minute passes, and I stop and I think, wait a minute. I locked both doors. And the only person with the key to the doors in these rooms, in this room, is my mom. Well, that's weird. I finished my shower. I'm getting dry and about to step out of the shower, and I see the light that's still flickering, right? It's been flickering now for a couple days. It's fine, it's just the light's gonna go out. No big deal, right? Just a shitty bulb, right? I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, something about the light is wrong. Something about it is off. I don't think it's just a broken light. Like, it's been a couple days. If you're gonna go out, just fucking go out, is what I'm thinking in my head. The second I think that, the light comes on solid. Doesn't just come on solid, it's brighter than the other one. It's still brighter than the other one. It's the weirdest shit. And it's still on, by the way. Even now. It still works. I went to use the bathroom light earlier today. It still works. The light's just on. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, it's just the weirdest shit. And so I'm like, okay, that's fucking weird. So my mom, at some point, came home while I was finishing my shower. While I was getting dry. And she asked me, like, hey, your grandpa said, like, you had some weird stuff happen. And I was like, yeah. And so I tell her what happened. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna put a glass of water in the room. Right? So, okay, no big deal. A glass of water is like a basic, like, santeria thing. You typically just put a glass of water as an offering. And, you know, whatever. Usually, I mentioned that I've had this happen and work before, right? This method, I've used it before. It works. Usually, what happens is that the visitor will have itself a drink, it'll take the offering, and then it'll fuck off. Well, my mom comes into her room with her glass of water, and starts spewing this, like, oh, like, the Jesus compels you to fuck off and leave us alone, and blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, that's a little aggressive. No, whatever, it's fine, you do you. I don't know, maybe the ghost is Catholic. Whatever. She places the cup somewhere high up. It's still there, by the way. It's been a couple days. It's still there, and the glass is still full. So, as, like, we entered the room, so that you can put the cup there, the room already felt empty to me. Like, the room already felt very empty to me. I didn't feel, because usually when there's a visitor, I can feel it. I don't know how to explain it to you, chat, but I can feel it, and I can kind of gauge its, like, relative position, right? I mentioned to you before, a couple days before, right? When I told it to fuck off in Spanish, I felt it physically fuck off and go to the corner of the room. I can tell you exactly where it is. Right? But, you know, whatever. I don't feel anything. Like, yeah, no, the room feels okay. Right? Lights on, everything's fine. There's no flickering. There's no sounds or weird sounds. Nothing wrong, right? Like, the room feels empty. Aside from, like, me and my mom. Whatever. She puts the glass on the table. My mom sticks around because she wants to move some stuff in her room and, like, organize a couple things. Okay, cool. I head back, because my hair's still wet. I head back to my bathroom where I have my hairdryer. The other side of the house. To get to my bathroom, I have to pass by, to exit my mom's room, I have to pass through my mom's, like, little living space. Pass through the kitchen, pass through the dining room, pass through the living room, and then go into a little hall that leads to my room, my brother's room, and my bathroom. Right? As I'm getting into my bathroom, something feels off. Something feels really, really off. Like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere. And not, like, in a mischievous off kind of way. In a, is the hall scary? No, the hall's not very scary. Something felt really off in, like, a malicious, like something's wrong, something bad is happening kind of way. Right? I go to grab my hairdryer, and I can't. I just can't bring myself to grab it, because I was like, something's off, something's really off. So I leave the bathroom, I check into my brother's room, and my cat's there on like a little like kitty like bed sitting thingy. Like a little like a scratching post that has a little like thing for her to sit on at the top. She's sitting there, and she looks at me, and then she looks past me. Like there's something in the hall, or like down the hall, right? Down the hall is the living room. I head down the hall into the living room. My grandma, when I came into this area, was on the bed. My grandma is no longer on, not the bed, sorry, the couch. My grandma's no longer on the couch. Where she's normally sleeping, right? My grandma's not a fast lady. So I'm like, that's fucking weird. Where the fuck's my grandma? So I head back over to my mom's room, right? So from the kitchen, if I head to the right, I'm heading towards my mom's side of the house. Head towards the left, and then towards my grandma, my grandpa's side of the house. I head over to where my mom is. I'm like, hey, you alright? And she's like, oh, you scared me. Like, is everything okay? I was like, I don't know, something feels off. We head over to my grandpa's side of the house, where we find my grandma. As I'm getting there, as I'm getting to her side of the house, I hear like mumbling, like she's saying something, but I didn't catch any of what she said. By the time I got there, she stopped. Like she went silent. She was just kind of standing there. And I was like, hey, grandma, you okay? She was kind of like looking at the door, just kind of standing there quietly. It was weird. And she turns around, she's like, huh? Yeah, I'm fine, why? And my mom was like, why are you here? Why aren't you sleeping in the living room? Why aren't you on the couch? My grandma's like, I don't know. I don't know, I don't remember. I ask her, I'm like, okay, well, where's grandpa? And she says, oh, I think grandpa's outside. I think I was gonna go get him. I don't remember why. Okay, cool. My mom starts kind of walking her back. Like, yeah, let's just go back and like lay down on the couch. She's like, yeah, like, she mentioned she felt dizzy and really lightheaded. Okay, cool, we start bringing her back. My mom starts bringing her back, and I look over to the door, and my grandpa was indeed in the backyard. Right? That was true. My grandpa was in the backyard. The weird part is, the door was locked. So my grandma, for whatever reason, locked him out. Very strange. Very, very strange time. Does your grandma have any mental issues at all? She's a little on the older side. She has dementia now. Yeah. She has like a bit of dementia. Like early onset dementia. Like forgets things. Her forgetting things isn't the weird part, honestly. The weirdest part of that whole thing is the fact that she randomly got up and went to go look for my grandpa. She never does that. Like, that's super uncommon for her to do. But yeah, that whole thing was weird. Like once I asked my grandpa, she was she was okay, and she said that she was fine. Like the weird vibe went away. But yeah, it was also quite quickly. She's not fast lady. She can barely walk. So like the fact that she got that much coverage and the time it took me to walk down the hall, go into the bathroom, and then check my brother's room was wild. So like she must have been in a hurry to like get there to go like look for my grandpa. And again, that's just really weird. That's just not the way she acts. She's not like that. But it was just really odd. And that's the last of it. I've not had any sort of weird experiences since. So everything's good, I guess. But to give another story, by the way, to add some extra spice to my grandpa's eerie feeling of this house. My grandpa doesn't know this, by the way. The only people that know this are me and my mom, because we were talking to, this was before COVID. I wanted to get new internet service provider, right? All of the houses down the block, down 6 stores down the block, my house in the corner of the block, all of them, they all belong to people that have like lived here for like 60 plus years, right? Like these people have been around living here their whole lives, right? mostly elderly folk. It's like a couple houses where like the elderly folk died and like they were replaced with like newer folk. But whatever. These houses have been owned by these old folks for like a while. A good while. And what ended up happening, cause like these houses are they're Cold War era, right? It's like a little they're suburbs, right? What ended up happening was that I had to get permission from every single neighbor 6 doors down, next to me, and also behind me, because all of the fucking houses, normally there's like a back alley between the houses, these houses don't have it, because the fucking neighbors were like, what if we just extend our yards, our backyards, and so there is no gap between the houses. So there's no access to the fucking light, like the electricity post, and like the internet post and stuff like that. So I had to get permission, right? So I was going door to door with my mom, just to like talk to like all of the old people and, you know, get to know them and whatever. And one of our neighbors a couple doors down, ended up talking with us for basically the entire day. We spent the entire day on just her. By the way, ended up not being able to get the fiber internet because COVID happened. But whatever. And so, possums, thank you for the soup. I have some ghost incidents. My bed is shaken. My name has been whispered, and I've heard footsteps in my room. I believe it. I believe it. But anyway, so our neighbor, right? We were talking about the layout of her house, because all these houses are all cookie cutter. They're all cookie cutter suburb houses. They're all the same. We can't help but notice everyone else's house is different from ours specifically. Their houses don't have bars. Our house has bars on the window. Their house's layout's a little bit different on the inside. Ours is quite a bit different on the inside. And so my mom was asking, like, oh, like, you know, like why is our house so different, right? And so the lady explained that before we moved in, the house was obviously abandoned, right? It was abandoned for a long time because no one wanted to buy it. No one wanted to live in this house, right? And the reason why, because the people that lived in the house before us was a family. It was an older man, his wife, his like younger wife, and then their 2 kids, a teenage daughter and a young boy, right? The old man bought the house when like the daughter was like really young. They had the kid in the house, you know, whatever. Normal life, right? Long story short, the wife gets sick. It's terminal. She ends up dying. The bars on the window, by the way, they're specifically on... The bars are on my window. I think my brother's room's window. My mom's room's window. It's all the room windows. All the rooms have bars on them. Not the bathroom, really, any of the rooms. And like the front of the house, like my grandpa's room has windows on like the sides, but not the back. It's weird. Like, or not the front of the house, more like... Whatever. So what ends up happening is that, apparently the bars were supposedly installed because the teenage daughter would try to go out at night and sneak out. That doesn't explain why the bars are on every fucking room, but you know, whatever. The lady explains that basically when the mom died, the teenage girl, committed suicide. And the dad, who was already really, really depressed from, like, his fucking wife dying, just couldn't handle anymore. So he killed his son, and then killed himself. And that's why the house was abandoned. Nothing to do with, like, the brujeria crap that my grandpa found in the backyard, but interesting story about the history of this house. I'm trying to think if there's any other relevant stories to any of the stuff that I mentioned. Cause like that was a whole tangent because there was a lot of like related stories, like to the last couple days worth of events. Like I had to explain like my mom's ex-boyfriend. I had to explain this just now. I had to explain like my grandpa's like history with voodoo, and that was a whole tangent. I'm sorry, chat. I hope you found that at least somewhat entertaining. I feel like I'm forgetting something important, but I can't remember what. Can't be that important. Oh well. We have one last book, chat. One last book. Could have told you before buying the house. So this happened a good, like, I don't know how long it was before we moved in, but I remember when we bought this house, I was like 2 or 3. And the grass was like taller, almost as tall as I was. I was maybe, I don't know, like 2 feet tall. I was a fucking toddler. And the grass was literally like, it was like up to like my neck and my eyes. Like I remember like we had like there was little stepping stones when we bought this house leading up to the door. And then the grass was just all around it. And I remember like jumping from stone to stone, and I couldn't fucking see like around me. It was so fucking tall. Could have saved you money. Safety issues reduces the price in some countries. Well, so this house is actually pretty cheap. Like when we got this house, for the time when we bought it, it's pretty cheap. It's also different era. We're talking like early 2000s, where people could put down like a reasonable down payment for a house and start paying the mortgage, which is what my dad did. Good milk. Oh man, but yeah. Let's read another story. Now we got the first book, chat. Who we got? Oh, this is a fun one. I actually remember this story. It's one of my personal favorites. Alright. Chat, you ready? This one's called High Beams. The girl driving the old blue sedan was a senior at the high school. She lived on a farm about 8 miles away and used the car to drive back and forth. She had driven into town that night to see a basketball game. Now she was on her way home. As she pulled away from the school, she noticed a red pickup truck follow her out of the parking lot. A few minutes later, the truck was still behind her. I guess we're going the same direction, she thought. She began to watch the truck in her mirror. When she changed her speed, the driver of the truck changed his speed. When she passed the car, so did he. Then he turned on his high beams, flooding her car with light. He left them on for almost a minute. Probably wants to pass me, she thought. She was becoming uneasy. Usually she drove home over a back road. Not too many people went that way. When she turned onto that road, so did the truck. I've got to get away from him, she thought. She began to drive faster. Then he turned his high beams on again. After a minute, he turned them off. Then he turned them on again. And off again. She drove even faster, but the truck driver stayed right behind her. Then he turned his high beams on again. Once more, her car was ablaze with light. What is he doing? She wondered. What does he want? Then he turned them off again. But a minute later, he had them on again, and he left them on. At last, she pulled into her driveway, and the truck pulled in right behind her. She jumped from the car and ran to the house. "Call the police!" she screamed at her father. Out in the driveway, she could see that the driver of the truck, he had a gun in his hand. When the police arrived, they started to arrest him, but he pointed to the girl's car. "You don't want me," he said. "You want him." Crouched behind the driver's seat, there was a man with a knife. As the driver of the truck explained it, the man slipped into the girl's car just before she left the school. He saw it happen. There was no way he could stop it. He thought about getting the police, but he was afraid to leave her, so he followed her car. Each time the man in the back seat reached up to overpower her, the driver of the truck turned on the high beams. Then the man dropped down, afraid someone might see him. It's a fun story. This is a true story. I was the dude in the back seat, Lamel. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. I really like that one. What else we got? See if I can find it. Fucking throat's killing me, chat. I don't normally do these like longer like reading streams. It's a good one. It's called The Guests. A young man and his wife were on a trip to visit his mother. Usually they arrived in time for supper, but they had gotten a late start, and now it was getting dark. They decided to look for a place to stay overnight and go in the morning. Just off the road, they saw a small house in the woods. "Maybe they rent rooms," the wife said. So they stopped to ask. An elderly man and woman came to the door. They didn't rent rooms, they said, but they would be glad to have them stay overnight as their guests. They had plenty of rooms, and they would enjoy the company. The old woman made coffee and brought out some cake, and the four of them talked for a while. Then the young couple were taken to their room. They again explained they wanted to pay for this, but the old man said that he would not accept any money. The young couple got up early the next morning, before their host had awakened. On a table near the front door, they left an envelope with some money in for the room. Then they went to the next town. They stopped at a restaurant and had breakfast. When they told the owner where they had stayed, he was shocked. "That can't be," he said. "That house burned to the ground, and the man and the woman who lived there died in the fire." The young couple could not believe it, so they went back to the house. Only now there was no house. All they found was a burned-out shell. They stood staring at the ruins, trying to understand what had happened. Then the woman screamed. In the rubble was a badly burned table, like the one they had seen by the front door. On the table was the envelope that they had left that morning. This is no one actually remember from my Did I tell you guys that when I was in middle school, I used to actually work part-time at a graveyard? Did I ever tell you guys that? And the money was gone. No. I don't have any like weird stories. I never had anything happen. It was kind of boring, honestly. So I stopped doing it really quickly. But I basically just kind of like, I hung out the graveyard like at night and just kind of picked up trash that people would leave. Which there wasn't a lot of because most people would just leave flowers and stuff like that, like normal shit for their fucking relatives. But like, you know, some people like smoke and stuff like that. They leave like cigarette butts and whatnot. And so I just kind of pick up trash. It's like a little side gig I did when I was young. But this is a fun story. I remember I read around that same time and I was like, huh. Never had anything like that happen. But here you go. It's called The Girl Who Stood on a Grave. Some boys and girls were at a party one night. There was a graveyard down the road, and they were talking about how scary it was. Don't ever stand on a grave after dark, one of the boys said. The person inside will grab you, pull you under. That's not true, one of the girls said. It's just superstition. I'll give you $1 if you stand on a grave, said the boy. The grave doesn't scare me, said the girl. I'll do it right now. The boy handed her his knife. Stick this knife in one of the graves, he said. Then we'll know you were there. The graveyard was filled with shadows, and was as quiet as death. There's nothing to be scared of, the girl told herself, but she was scared anyway. She picked out a grave and stood on it. Then quickly she bent over and plunged a knife into the soil. And she started to leave. But she couldn't get away. Something was holding her back. She tried a second time to leave, but she couldn't move. She was filled with terror. Something has got me, she screamed. She fell to the ground. When she didn't come back, the others went to look for her. They found her body sprawled across the grave. Without realizing it, she had plunged the knife through her skirt and had pinned it to the ground. It was only the knife that held her. She died of fright. It's a fun story. It's like, wow, nothing spooky happened. She's just stupid. Bruh. For real. Oh, that's not the story I was thinking of, though. Can't remember what story it was I was thinking of. It also involved, like, a girl in a graveyard. A lot of people die of stupid in many different ways. It's true. Was a good one. Chat, this will be the last one because my throat kind of hurts. It's almost midnight. Room for one more. A man named Joseph Blackwell came to Philadelphia on a business trip. Stayed with friends in a big house they owned outside the city. That night, they had a good time visiting, but when Blackwell went to bed, he tossed and turned and couldn't sleep. Sometime during the night, he heard a car turn to the driveway. He went to the window to see who was arriving at such a late hour. In the moonlight, he saw a long black hearse filled with people. The driver of the hearse looked up at him. When Blackwell saw his queer, hideous face, he shuddered. The driver called to him, "There's room for one more." Then he waited for a minute or two, and he drove off. In the morning, Blackwell told his friends what had happened. "You were dreaming," they said. I must have been," he said, "but it didn't seem like a dream." After breakfast, he went into Philadelphia. He spent the day high above the city in one of the new office buildings there. Late in the afternoon, he was waiting for an elevator to take him back down the street. But when it arrived, it was very crowded. One of the passengers looked eyes and called to him. "There's room for one more," he said. It was the driver of the hearse. "No thanks," said Blackwell. "I'll get the next one." The doors closed and the elevator started down. There was shrieking and screaming, and the sound of a crash. The elevator had fallen to the bottom of the shaft. Everyone aboard was killed. Yeah, I think it's gonna be the last one, chat. Don't see any other ones that catch my attention that I can, like, remember. Thought the story was, like, midway through the map. No, that was the end. Everyone in the fucking... Yeah. There's room for one more, chat. There's always room for one more. Alright, chat. With that, I believe it is time for me to bid you adieu. I'm trying to think if there's any more personal stories I can give as a last one. I think that's that. During the early 2000s, my grandfather died a few years later. I got sick with something that had me in the hospital for over a month. The first hospital I was in had two EXP? When I would remember the elevator story which brought me to only take the stairs. Would I draw a blank card of that? Should binge watch a lot of Twilight Zones. I'm gonna watch them with or without you. Okay. I'm trying to think of any of those stories. I can tell you it's about the times that I've like predicted the immediate future, but those are kind of boring. Who really cares about that? What else can I tell you guys about? Friends, after a long day of doctors, tests, etc., received a message telling me everything is alright, and the food tray my grandfather's name was written on it. Sitting alone. Ooh, that's weird. I get deja vu a lot. Yeah, but how often do you get deja vu and actually recall what's about to happen? This is from when I was in high school. I was in my anatomy class. I can't remember exactly what triggered the deja vu, but I remember it was like, I was playing with like a pen, right? And my friend behind me said something, and then another girl said something. And the teacher was telling a story. I can't remember what the fuck it even was, but it involved her ex-boyfriend from when she was really young. We're talking about a teacher in her 70s. Story about when she was in her 20s, right? So, I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I feel deja vu. I'm trying to recall what happens next. And it fucking hits me. So the teacher, she's describing what her ex-boyfriend looks like. And suddenly, I escape from my deja vu. And without really thinking about it, I speak aloud and I describe her ex-boyfriend. All the details. Right? Describe his eye color, hair color. Just various details, right? Like, things that you wouldn't really... You know, and it's enough to where you would get it very specific, right? Things like shape, right? Hairstyle, right? Clothing that he wore on this particular day. I remembered it all, as if I had already heard this story. The teacher asked if she had already told this story. And everyone in the class was just like, no. What? Fuck? And yeah, I was able to just recall information that I hadn't received yet. Ceiling? Some chair. I once waved off a wasp, then went inside and sat down. 30 minutes later, sitting relaxing, it crawled over the collar of my coat and looked me in the eye. Ooh! You talking about wasps reminded me of a story when I was younger. So, my parents are split. They split when I was really young, chat. And on my dad's side, I have sisters. On Sundays, my dad had custody, so I would go with him, you know, wherever. And when my sisters were born, he'd take me a lot of like parties, like children's parties to basically babysit. It was kind of boring. But this particular day, it was the birthday of one of my sister's friends, right? And we were gonna go to a birthday party, we're gonna have some food, it was gonna be great. I had a bad feeling about it, so I didn't want to go. After lots of pestering, I convinced my mother to tell my dad, hey, she doesn't want to go, she doesn't want to go. Leave her alone. Alright, cool. I didn't go, even though my dad had custody that day. So I didn't go to the birthday party because I had a really bad feeling something bad was gonna happen. I told my mom exactly that morning. I was like, I want to go, so I feel something bad's gonna happen. Mom was like, oh, you know, but like, you know, just go with your dad, whatever. Like, no, something bad's gonna happen. Well, my dad comes by to visit the day after. Or no, later that night. Later that evening. Right? He wanted to come see me anyway. It's his day of custody. And, says, man, you really called it. It's a good thing you didn't go. My sister has like 4 fucking wasp stings on her fucking neck. My dad has wasp stings all over his arm. Long story short, a kid kicked the ball into a wasp nest. And it became a whole thing. Precog? Yeah. I've experienced like precognition on multiple accounts. I once had like a daydream right before I woke up that I was walking around I was having a walk around I was an adult already. Having a walk around my like the block, and I got hit by a car. Like a black butterfly passed in front of me on the on the sidewalk. As I was walking on the sidewalk, a black butterfly passed in front of me, and then I got hit by a car. And I woke up. That day, I went with my mom and my brother to go get blood drawn. Some doctor stuff, whatever. He's going to the doctor. On the way back, we're waiting at a light. It's a 4-way, right? There's cars passing in front of us, going left and right, right? I'm waiting at the light. I'm gonna make a left, right? Just to kind of give you a picture, right? Like I'm gonna make a left. There's 3 lanes, right? There's 3 lanes on each street. I'm gonna make a left. Light turns on with the arrow for me to make a left. Right before that happens, right? Like as we're waiting, a black butterfly. Yes, I'm positive it was black, and my mom can actually like corroborate because she was sitting next to me. I'm positive it was a black butterfly. A black butterfly flies over the fucking hood of my car as we're waiting for the light. Light turns green. I'm ready to go, and as I'm driving out, my mom screams and I look over to the right, and I see that a car that was, at the intersection, right, decided to run a red and make a left turn. So I'm turning left, he's also turning left, he's effectively gonna T-bone me. And I hit the fucking gas. And just barely fucking missed him, chat. He just barely fucking missed me. If I had panicked and like hit the brakes, we would have gotten hit. We would have gotten fucking T-boned. But in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I slammed the fucking guy. Hit go. Pedal to the fucking metal. And just fucking zoomed out of there. Just barely missed that. But yeah, that's another example I can think of like be cognitive, I guess. Black butterfly is a symbol of death. Yes, checks out. When I think of death and insects, I think of moths. Boy. So there's a specific type of moth that specifically likes the scent of decay. And they tend to hang out wherever there's corpses. Pretty neat. See any of the stories I can think of. Oh, it's a fun one. When I was in high school, here's the funny part about this, right? So this ended up, triggering a conversation about, horror stories. So I can actually share with you a horror story from somebody else. So, I'm playing Destiny with some friends of mine, right? Some friends from my old clan. When I first got really into Destiny, joined this clan, it's great, met a lot of really cool people that I'm still friends with today. Among them is this old man. He's in like, I say old man, he's in like, at the time, right, so this is like a good decade ago now, he was like in his 50s, like late 50s, probably in his 60s now. Really cool dude, but whatever. And so we're all chatting about like, I think we're chatting about like foreign foods that we think are fucking gross. And that, like, we hate the people that eat these things, right? Like, we're like, yeah, fuck those people. If we ever saw those people, we'd kick their ass, or whatever. But yeah, we're just kind of chatting, just shit. My brother comes into my room, and he points at the corner of my room. At the time, my bedroom is actually... My bed was where I'm sitting right now. At the time, like, the head of my bed is here, in this corner of the room. And then, it like, went that way, I guess, and... my TV was next to the door, right? So I'd have to turn back to look at my bed. And while I'm turning back, my vision passes by my closet, where the mirror is. Well, the mirror sliding doors used to be. So my brother points at the corner of the room, and he's like, who's that? And I'm like, huh? I turn around and look at the corner of my room, where my bed is. I don't see anybody. That's weird. So, you know, I turn back over, and my brother, like, runs away. He's like, I'm gonna tell mom. Fucks off. I'm like, well, that's fucking weird. So I turn around again to look at the corner of the room. I don't see anything. And as I'm turning back, and my vision is glancing over the mirror, I see, like, the silhouette of a person. Kind of like how I saw my grandpa. A couple years later. Kind of a similar thing. It looks like a shimmering silhouette of like a child sitting in the corner of my room, like on the bed. Immediately turn back over. I don't see nothing. I'm like, well, that's fucking weird. So I tell my friends about it, and that kind of spawned a whole conversation about horror stories. And the old man told us a really fun story about when he was young. I can't remember what the context is for why. It had something to do with his dad. But when he was young, he lived in a house in Germany. Or his family had moved into a house in Germany for like a short period of time. And so the house, well, you know what? I'll give you guys that part after. So he, for the first couple nights, he slept upstairs. First few nights. So he slept upstairs in what was previously a child's bedroom. Now it's his bedroom. He's also like a kid. It's like a teenager, I think, at the time. I can't remember if he was a teenager or if he was a child. I can't remember the exact story. It's not my story. But long story short, he very quickly stopped sleeping up there, started sleeping on the couch, because every night at the exact same time, he would hear like the sounds of muffled crying, like someone trying to like hold back cries, like whimpering. And he would hear the sounds of like heavy footsteps climbing up the fucking stairs towards where his room is, slamming on the door and yelling in a language at the time he didn't understand. Now he knows it's German. He'd hear, even though the door's closed, he'd hear the sound of the door opening, followed by more German yelling, crying, and gunfire. And then the experience would kind of end. And it would happen at the same time every night. So he just stopped sleeping up there. Should have been prepared for the pounding, however, was not. Sorry, Bear. But yeah, that's a fun story from someone else's experiences I could share with you. Oh, and then the thing I was gonna tell you guys. The house, was pre-World War II owned by Jews. Like a Jewish family. Fun stories. But I think that's... Can't think of anything else I could tell you guys about. Oh, remember I mentioned that my brother saw that kid in my room and then I never saw anything about it again? For a while my brother was having episodes where he would like start acting like really aggressively randomly. And like stuff like that. So that was a thing. We're like pretty confident my brother was like possessed for a while. But yeah, that's the last story, chat. I can't think of anything else I could tell you guys about. At least from like personal experiences that come to mind at the moment. I'm not great at being put on the spot. But in any case, we are at the end. Read post, please informal. What? Related to metaphorical death, considered an irreversible change, not an end. Metamorphosis, drastic change. Death of one form, the birth of another. Went to my house, just that, there's a feast always at 3 p.m. 3 o'clock from downstairs. Information to my house. It was built with stones from a church. On a church ground. That's neat. Oh my god. Oh! One last thing I can tell you guys, chat. Growing up, so my grandma's always been kind of weird. She always had like a weird like personality split. Like some days she's really loopy, and like very like, you know, just kind of like busybody and like kind of like obnoxious, I guess, in a weird way. And then some days she'd be like really calm and she'd wear her glasses. And she'd like tell me like really cryptic shit. Like before I went to school and stuff like that. And like she'd like knit and stuff like that. But when I was young, when my grandmother was in her like more calm state, she'd always tell me like weird cryptic shit. Like before I went to school, like the only one I can recall was one time she told me something along the lines of like keep to the shadows or something like that, like in Spanish. I remember the exact wording. Camina con... I can't fucking remember the exact wording. Like, that she used. Basically something along those lines. And just like weird, like cryptic shit that she'd say. And then sometimes she'd like insist on having me sit there while she read me like seance and shit. And like she like insists like I'm possessed when I was a kid. That all like went away as she got older, but like it was just weird. Fun stuff. It's now Saturday the 14th, and it has to be the saddest date on the calendar. Well, chat, we are 9 minutes late. It is no longer spooky time. And so, with that, I bid y'alls adieu. Have yourselves a nice night. Do take care. And as always,